Today we're looking at the number 8 meat grinder. It features our half-horse electric motor, or 370 watts. We'll just go through and kind of highlight each component as we put it together, as you would if you're about to grind some meat. Here is our power head, the electric motor assembly. Features stainless steel construction, stainless steel gear head. This one has a forward switch with a resettable fuse. What you'll first want to do is take the grinder head and you will assemble it to the front of the motor, and you'll lock it in place with the locking knob back here. Next you'll see we have this auger and a plastic bushing. The bushing is slipped over the back side of the auger, and you'll insert this into the grinder head. You may have to twist it slightly as you insert it. It's a splined connection between the motor assembly and the auger, so you want to make sure that you have it fully seated. The grinder comes with a knife, as you see here, and 3 different grinding plates. It has a 10mm or 3/8 coarse grinding plate, you'll see here. It also comes with a 3/16 or 4.5mm grinding plate for fine grinding. And then we have the sausage stuffing plate here. So your blade assembles over the auger, and this is a universal type blade. It has a square drive profile. It just slips right over the end of the auger. You want to make sure that the square profile is made up. Next, you'll want to take the grinding plate that you intend to use, and if you see here, it has a small depression ground into the bottom of the plate. And that depression is going to align with a protrusion on the bottom edge of the grinder head. So you'll want to orient those so that they mate up. So you'll see there we have the knife, the plate, and then finally you'll take your locking ring and assemble that onto the end of the grinder head. And you only want to assemble this hand tight. You don't really want to wrench down on this with any tools because you have the grinder and the plate spinning against one another, and if you have that assembly too tight, you're going to experience probably more rapid wear than you would just with normal use. So once you have that solidly attached, we've got the hopper tray, and that simply slides down over the throat of the grinder head. We have the Stomper, and this is just used to help guide the meat down into the throat as you're pushing your meat into it. You always want to make sure you're using the Stomper and not using your hands. You don't want to have your fingers anywhere near the auger assembly, so that is going to serve as that purpose there. So some of the additional accessories that are included with the grinder are a sausage stuffing tube assembly. So we've got several different sizes here. Large 1.1/8" stuffing tube. The second tube size is a 3/4 inch diameter, and the last tube size is a 3/8. These tubes are used for stuffing sausage or filling meat bags, which the grinder is capable of doing. So the way you would use this feature is you would remove the locking ring from the front, and you're going to remove your grinding plate from the auger. You want to keep your blade installed on the auger and install this wide stuffing plate. And the stuffing plate looks similar to the other plates, but really what it's doing is just creating a large opening for the auger to push the meat into the stuffing tubes and then into your casing or your meat bag. Same basic interface. It's got the depression, lines up with the protrusion. You align those two on the grinder head, and then depending on what product you're making, say for instance, we're just gonna stuff some meat bags with some bulk ground meat. I'm gonna use this larger tube. There's a flange here, and the tube connects to the flange by inserting it through the center, and you'll see there's 3 little protrusions on the tube, and those align with 3 depressions on the flange. When you line those up, you give it just a short twist. The 2 of these are locked together. Drop that through the locking ring, and then assemble these on the front of the grinder head. So if you're gonna stuff some meat bags or you're gonna stuff some meat into some casings, you'll take your ground meat and then you're gonna run it right back through the grinder. The auger is gonna pick it up and it's gonna push it through this tube assembly into your final casing or your bag, and then you can close your bags up from there. The number 8 refers to the throat diameter. So that would be the diameter of this area on the grinder head that you can drop the meat down into the auger. So 8 would be the smallest that we offer. As that number increases, the throat diameter increases. Just a quick tip, the colder your meat is, the easier it is to process, and that goes for both cutting and grinding. You really almost want it nearly frozen. So anywhere kind of between 32 and 34 degrees seems to be about the ideal temperature. As the fat warms up through the grinding process, it has a tendency to kind of smear and want to stick to the throat. So the colder you can keep that, the cleaner it cuts and the easier it moves through the throat of the grinder. You'll kind of get a feel for what the grinder is capable of as you start grinding. So if, say, you ended up going a little too large and that you hear the grinder struggling to move it through the auger, you can always stop there and maybe take your pieces and cut them down again. Once you've got your meat in the chunks that you would like, you can just drop those into the hopper tray. There you have it. That's our number 8 meat grinder. For more information and specifications on this grinder and many of our other products, visit madewithmeat.com.